Wanda, have you done socks before?
I never did socks before.
Oh,
Never.
wow.
That's the only reason why I wanted to learn how to knit socks. Yes.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. It's not easy, especially with all of these.
Yes, you're right.
Oh,
They're so tiny.
telling you. Oh. Even with them circular ones, the tiny ones, they hard too. I tried.
You know, I don't like knitting socks with those. Some people do,
Uh-huh.
but I don't. I do fine with the double points, but um some people prefer using circulars and they find it
Yes.
easier, those little ones, but I don't like them. I don't like using them for sock knitting. And Kissy, you don't use circulars either, do you?
No, no,
You use
they can't,
just
they
one.
don't seem to get tight enough.
Okay.
I don't know.
Kista has been knitting socks for a long time. Oh, here comes Barb. Way back in the early 90s, there was this thing called the Knit List,
Uh-huh.
and it was a mailing, an email listserv. Somebody at some college somewhere had put together, and there were thousands of people on that knit list, and it was basically sending emails going back and forth, no pictures, nothing. And I taught myself to knit when I was pregnant with my son, and we moved to Monterey, and my husband was in school, and the internet was like new. And I was on this internet knit list, and that's actually where I like learned a lot about knitting and learned about what books were good to, to coming out or whatever. It was just like the thing. There was no Ravelry, there was no Facebook.
Absolutely.
Yes. There was nothing else. I was out in Monterey with a little baby, and my now ex-husband was in school, and I didn't know anyone, and I didn't have anything to do. We were only going to be there for a year, and I wasn't planning to get pregnant, and I did.
Yeah.
And and I read the knit list, and I remember this person on the knit list talking about the socks that she knitted and sold online. And her name was Kista Tucker. And I remembered that name. It was such an unusual name. And she was also a choreographer, and I think she mentioned that on the knit list. And so that got my attention. But I remember way back then, Kista had this little, and she's made me, I have 3 pairs of her socks. I'm wearing one of her socks right now. And this is another pair of her socks, but she knits these socks every once in a while. You get a pair of socks like this from Kista, you know you've done something right.
Wow.
In Kista's life. But I remember, hi Barb, I remember on the internet knit list, she would send this message with this something that she puts on her tags of her socks that talk about if she charged by the hour for the socks, how much they would cost. So you could say something about that, Kista, because I don't remember exactly how it goes.
Oh God, hang on a second. I've got a card here, I think. Oh yeah. Okay, hang on a second. Okay, here's my card. You can't see it very good. Okay, there's the back. You can't see that very good. Oh, I had to put it in front of the camera. Then you can't see it. Oh well, pretend that you can read that. I'll read it out to you in a minute. And then here inside, there you can see it better there. Okay. Right.
It's her label that she puts with her socks.
Okay, so here's this thing about, it's called Here's the Math. Okay. Most people do not recognize the value of hand knit socks. In addition to the skilled labor involved, the yarn to knit a pair of socks can cost anywhere from $12 to $50. Depending on the yarn, pattern, and size, the amount of time needed to make them varies. Okay, here's the rest of the math. A woman's size 5 shoe. Okay, so if I do a woman's size 5 shoe, that's
Mhm.
what her foot is. I make socks for that size of shoe. One row, 48 to 60 stitches per row, depending on how large you want the sock to be. Stitches depending upon the yarn and the pattern. So if the yarn is thicker, you won't have as many stitches, or why they say super. Okay. One row takes approximately 4.75 to 5.25 minutes to knit. That's one row around. There are approximately 160 rows in one sock. 160 rows times 4.75 minimum equals 760 minutes. 760 minutes divided by 60 equals 1 hour, or 60 minutes equals 12.66 hours. So it takes over 12 hours to knit. 12. Wait, let me finish. Okay. 12.66 hours times $9 minimal for skilled labor equals
$9 an hour.
$9. That's really for skilled labor. That's really low, right?
I guess you're not part of the Great Resignation, right?
Equals
I'm willing to
100.
work for $9 an hour.
Yeah. So that equals, for one sock, that equals $113.94 per sock. Of course, there are two socks in a pair, so that equals $227.88 per pair, plus materials. So you have to buy the yarn and whatever else you need. Sometimes it's an extra set of needles or something. So equals $258.88 per pair of women's size 5 socks. Then I say, can you imagine what a man's size 13 or 14 is worth?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a
So
good one.
yeah, I have fun with that. Yeah, skilled labor.
Even McDonald's get paid more than that for skilled labor.
I know.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So hand knitted socks are definitely a gift of love.
Oh yeah.
Yes, it is.
And,
Yes.
all that is to say that we have someone here on this call who probably has forgotten more about making socks than I ever knew, and has been doing it way longer than I have. And yeah, so I'm so glad you're here, Kista.
Oh, thank you. But Bessie knows probably more about knitting than I do, even though I've been knitting since I was a little kid. I mean, she chains on with a different kind of chain than I don't know how to do it, but it's very nice. Mine's very nice too. But
I was looking at yours. I was looking at yours this morning too. So let me put my overhead on.
Okay.
And we will talk about the anatomy of a sock.
Okay.
Do you want me to mute all of us while you do that?
Yeah, so we'll do the same thing like we did before, is, when it's like lesson time, we'll mute. And then when it's whatever, we're just knitting, then I'll unmute and we can chat. So,
And also
This
unmute
is-
if you have a question.
yes, unmute if you have a question. These are 2 different hand knitted socks. This is a pair of Kista's socks. She calls them boot socks. And this is what we're going to make. This is a pair of Argyle socks. I had to make these for the knitting. I wanted to do the Knitting Guild of America has like a master's certification program, and it has 3 levels, and I did 2 levels of it. And this was like the assignment for the second level was to knit an Argyle sock. And I know a lot of people said they never finished the second one. They just knit the Argyle sock and they forgot about it, because this was really hard to do. But I did make my second one, but I brought I brought this one out to show you that you can just do, this is just stockinette on the leg part here. Kista does a ribbing on the leg. So there's a million different ways to make socks. You can start at the toe and you can go up. You can start at the cuff and go down. You can add the heel afterwards. There's all different ways to make a heel, but this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna start here and cast on at the top. So we're doing top down socks. You have the cast on, and then you have a cuff, and then you have the leg, and then you have a heel flap. That's this part. And then there's this little part here that's where you turn the heel. Okay, so this is the heel. And then you'll be working from here down, and you have to pick up along the sides of the heel. We'll be picking up there. And then we'll be making decreases here, which I think this is called the gusset, where you make these decreases. And then eventually you get back to just stockinette in a tube. And this is the instep. And there are different things that you can do here too. Like Barb was saying last night, she has a high arch, so she does ribbing along here, along the bottom or the instep of the foot. And then you get to the toe, you have toe decreases. And then the very tip of the toe, you graft it together. So you have grafting. So that's the anatomy of the sock. Did I miss anything? I got them all? Okay. All right, so this is something like the sock that we're gonna make, and I'm just gonna give you a recipe, and I'm gonna give you choices, and you can make your own choices about your ribbing. Like you can do 1 by 1 ribbing at the top, and then a stockinette leg, or you can do a tighter ribbed cuff and then a more loosely ribbed leg. Kista does this ribbing so it'll kind of hug your leg a little bit more. This one hugs my leg just fine, but you can see it doesn't have as much stretch. But it hugs my leg fine, but I have kind of chubby ankles, so these aren't the same size either. This sock is actually worked back and forth because this is intarsia inside. So this is actually worked back and forth and then seamed. And then I think this is just one of those projects where you have to show a lot. There are a lot of different techniques to do and learn. So yeah, that's that. Thanks, guys. All right, questions so far? Good. All right, are we ready to cast on? I'll take that as a yes. Okay. You need your straights, casting on, and then your double points. We're going to pick those up after we cast on. I'm using, these are 4s. And my yarn that I ended up with, I thought I ordered some woolies, and then some Vanna's Choice came in the mail. So I don't know what I did. So I'm going to use this, even though it's 100% acrylic. I started one last night on the call, and this is how far I got. So I'm gonna say just if this is your first sock ever, just think of it as a swatch. If it turns out, you know, not the right size, you can, I think this is a good size for just about anybody. But you know, like somebody like me with the little chubbier ankles might need a little bit more. If your legs, if you have really slim legs, you might want it a little tighter. So just take this as a practice round and something to get your measurements off of, and then you can figure out exactly your size and your gauge and everything, exactly how large you want your sock. So we decided last night on a cast on of 48. So we're going to cast on 48. And I use a cable cast on. It's very similar to a knitted cast on. Okay, so I have one slip knot on the needle. And then I'm going to knit that. I need to come down a little bit more. I can come down pretty far, but then it's in front of my face. Just sit like this. Maybe I should have left it over to one side, you know, so I could be like that and then just put my hands to the side. Maybe I'll change it back. Okay, so I'm going to knit this stitch. And then I'm going to put it back on the left-hand needle. So I have two. And then for the next one, I'm going to go in between. And I'm going to pull a loop up in between those two. Oh my goodness. This is hard to do when you're on camera. And then I'm going to put that one on my needle. Hold on, because I put this so low. The ends of my needles are hitting the table. I'm going to go in between 2 stitches, pull up a loop. There's a little split there. Okay, so it's just like knitting on, except instead of putting my needle into the stitch like that, I'm putting it between the first 2 stitches. See that? And then usually what I actually do before I tighten it, I put my needle in, so I don't have to go digging every time. And you want it really loose. So I don't want to tighten those stitches all the way. I want the top of my sock to be nice and loose and elastic. The top edge of a sock is not the proper place for a long tail cast on. You know, most of us love just a long tail cast on. You can just do it so fast. But if you do that at the top of your sock, you're going to have a really tight edge. It's not going to stretch as much as the rest of your ribbing. You're going to feel that on your leg. See, these down here are too tight where I just first started. How are we doing? Is anyone casting on with me, or are you just following along? Barb's doing it. Okay. We can unmute and chat if you want while I get to 48, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. How are we doing? You at 48, Barb? You're muted.
I have 60 on mine because I have fat calves. And
Okay.
I'm using circular needles so that I can set it down and not have it fall apart.
Okay.
That's the difference I have.
Okay. So you're doing 60. And what yarn are you using?
Bernay, Super Value. It's a 4 and it's camo. Why I went with such dark colors, I don't know.
So you're doing 60 stitches in a worsted weight. And what size needles are you using?
Just a second. 7s.
7s. Okay.
Pretty good size.
Okay. And they sound like they're going to be nice and thick and warm. So this is what I do when I am using double pointed needles. When I'm just mentioning this because you said you want to set it down and not have it fall apart.
Right.
So when I'm working on double pointed needles, I use 4 needles and then the 5th one to work with. So when I set it down, I always stop in the middle of one of the needles. So I have, my 4th and 5th needles, I have half and half. And then I fold it in half like that. And that's, I might slide these in if I'm putting it in like a bag or something. That's how I lay down my work. I would not, I'm not going to say never, but I would not put the work down with only 4 needles in it and let this other needle go wander off somewhere by itself, right? Because I'll never find it. So that's just something I do. And then you don't have to pick your work up and wonder where you left off, because it's right there where you have your two needles.
Well, I think I have a million and one stitch protectors, the little rubber things that go on the end. that
Oh
do
yeah,
snags,
you can use that. You can use those too, of course.
But I could not find them.
I think
That's
I
what I
think there's
use.
a
I use the
I
little
think there's a
stickers.
special thing now you can get where it has like
Mhm.
you can put it over both ends and it has, I don't know, something
So
that
it's
holds it
got little
together.
clasps on it.
Yeah.
And it like clips around the work over the top and it keeps it all secure. But I use, actually, I'll grab these ones. I use these on mine. I have enough of them that I can put them on my DPNs. Little needle stoppers. There's plastic on it. Hang on. They're just little rubber stoppers that you can put
Right.
on the top of the needles. They're on little plastic things so you can see. And I have enough of the different styles that I can put them on my needles. So that's what I use.
I have some that look like little socks.
That's adorable.
But
I
could
got
not-
these ones, and then
Those
I
are
have Christmas ones. There's a
You.
little Christmas tree.
Nice.
Because I got a one of my yarn advent calendars is, which I'm hoping I'll cast on in the next couple of weeks, self-striping yarn to make socks.
Ooh.
So it matches. And so she split it into 250 grams so that you can make your socks at the same time. I just have been busy,
Yeah,
so I haven't
if
started
you
it.
have a second, I didn't tell people to get a second set of needles, but if you have a second set of needles, you can start your other sock. I should have told people to get a second set of needles. Next time I do this class, I'll tell people to get 2 sets of needles.
That's a good
Okay,
idea.
so I'm ready for my ribbing. And what I do, Kista, I noticed Kista does a little different cast on than I do. And she doesn't do this next step. So maybe I'll skip it. I'm just gonna skip it on this one. Usually I do one round of 1 by 1 as I'm putting my work on my double pointed needles. I do 1 by 1 ribbing. And then on the second round, I switch to 2 by 2. 2 by 2. I'll just do it the same so that both are the same. And I'm sure there's a reason why I do that, but I don't remember what it is. Why I do 1 by 1 first and then switch to 2 by 2, but that's what I do. So I guess I'll just do it, but you can go right to 2 by 2 if you want to. So 1 by 1 means knit 1, purl 1, and 2 by 2 means knit 2, purl 2. So everybody knows how to knit and purl, right? And I'll do it really slowly at first in case you're refreshing on knit and purl. So knit goes in from the front. And now I'm working right into the stitch the normal way. Hold on. This is a 3.5. Okay. So I'm a half a size smaller than the needle I use to cast on with, which is fine. Okay, so I'm going to knit 1 and then bring my yarn to the front and purl. And when you purl, you're just pulling the loop from the front to the back of the work. And then take my yarn to the back. Courtney, I think I made you a co-host. Knit 1, purl 1. And I have 48, so I'm going to do 12 stitches on each double pointed needle. Hi, Rosa, welcome. So we want everyone to be muted unless you have a question.
I have a question.
Go ahead, Kista.
Why do you put 12 on each needle?
48 divided by 4 is 12.
So you're knitting, you're using 5 needles to knit other than 4.
Yes,
Okay.
I use four needles, hold the work, and the fifth one is
Okay,
working needle.
I
Yeah.
get it.
Do you
Thank
do
you.
3?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And I know it's scary to just drop that needle, but it's not gonna, nothing's gonna happen. It's fine. I mean, maybe if I had a metal hook, it might fall out. I made a mistake. I'm gonna drop that one and start my next needle. So however many stitches you're doing, you want to divide by 4. Or if you want to use 3 needles, divide by 3. Kista, do you divide them evenly when you do 3? Or do you do half on one needle and then how
I
do you divide
I
your,
divide them up. It depends on how many I have on there, of course. Let's see right now. There are usually 2 needles that have the same amount, and hang on a second, I'll tell you how many they have on there because I can't remember. There are 18 on 2 needles, and the one that goes between those two, there are 12. And I divide them up so it's sort of like it changes with the ribbing, with the pattern of the ribbing. So
Yeah.
I don't change it in the middle of a rib.
whoops. I have all 48 of my stitches evenly distributed on my double points. I'm just going to bring that around. And the first couple times you do this can feel extremely awkward. This isn't my first time and I feel awkward. So now I'm going to bring this around and I'm going to change to 2x2 rib. And I like this needle to be over top of this needle. So as I'm working across, and as I'm changing needles, I just kind of get into this habit of arranging the needles the way I want them. So I'll put this one under that one. And then I usually pull that first one a little bit tight, especially since it's the first round in the one in the round. And you are going to have a little bit of awkwardness right there until you go back and weave in that starting tail. So I'm knitting 2 and I'm purling 2. Feel like I may have twisted my work right there. If you twist it, you're screwed. You can't untwist it. You have to go back. You have to rip it out. Oh, let's be over. There we go. Under. Okay. And now as I slide my work around, I'm going to put this one underneath. Just kind of slide the needle and even out the stitches so they're in the middle of the needle. There we go. And I'm gonna do 10 rounds of knit 2, purl 2 rib at the top of my sock. And then I don't know, it's 10:42. See how far we get today. I'd like to get to the top of the leg, past the ribbing section, and get you to the top of the leg. And then that way you can work on your leg. Next week, we can start the heel flap. Somebody left.
It was Rosa. I think they were having issues with audio. I tried to help them in the chat, but they said they couldn't hear anything.
For helping Courtney. We can probably unmute now. I'm just going to be working 9 more rows of this.
Is everybody okay if I go a little faster? Yes. Okay. Oh, I heard a little one. Yeah, perhaps little one wake up. How fast I can do these 9 rows. Now I'm trying to go fast and I can't. That's a ways away. I want to see the little guy. The little guy or little girl. My friend Sarah with her little ones. I can share this with you all because, well, Christy, you know Sarah in real life. I think you've met her. But, you know, she has 3 little kids I'm always talking about because they're like my grandkids. I think all of the kids were conceived on vacation. So every time she goes on vacation, I say, are you going to come back pregnant? Oh, no, I hope not. Oh, no. Well, they went to Italy for 2 weeks. And she came back and she said, well, you jinxed us. I said, are you going to come back pregnant on this vacation? And sure enough, they made a baby in Italy. The baby's coming in July, so I have somewhere else to make blanket for her. You can make more baby blankets. Make more blanket. Her third one, Tess, is the one in the mushroom risotto pattern. Yeah. You can also make them love. Okay, this is Bobby Clay. Hey, Bobby, what's up? Hi. Hi, good to meet you. Okay, I'm gonna eat breakfast now. My son followed him all around the yard when he was like putting mulch down in his yard. He had a truckload of mulch delivered, and he was putting it down all over the yard in the flower beds and different places. And my son was about that age, and he used to talk constantly. And my dad was like almost like wanting to losing his patience. He was like, he just never stops talking. Papa, are you burying it? Papa, what are you doing? Papa, are you burying it again? You doing with that dirt, Papa? So cute. Just having little ones around. But Sarah said last night she was going to jump in the car and drive down last night. They were going to drive down, and I was like, oh, wow, that's a lot. But she did. It's a long drive. It's 9.5 hours, 9 hours, 8.5 to 10 hours, depending on what time. And I think I did it one time where I only stopped for gas, and I didn't get out and pee. I just made a really quick stop. I don't remember how I did it that fast, but I know I didn't make a lot of stops. I was talking to somebody on the phone, so I was just going. And I did it in 8.5 hours. Yeah, but she said, oh, it would have been a tough drive because I have to bring the dogs. And I was like, you can't bring the dogs. If I didn't have dogs here, I would have a dog. I would have one of my own. Definitely. It'd be fun to have your dogs here, though, and let them go run on the beach. To turn my outside water off, though, I'm really not happy about it because it's been in the 60s. And they said they were coming to winterize, and I thought that meant they were, I don't know, insulating it somehow so that it wouldn't freeze. And they said, no, they were turning it off. They turned it off. They turned off my outdoor shower, my foot shower, where I can rinse off my feet when I come back from the beach, and my, outdoor hose goes down my car. So I don't have any of that stuff to use. I'm most upset about the outdoor shower because that was really fun. Take my shower outside. I bought myself this little house coat to take out there so that I can cover up to come back in the house after my outdoor shower. Wah. So that's what I'm doing. That's close enough to have that straight so you guys are. Does it get to 32 there? Yeah, we had a freeze warning a couple weeks ago, like right before Thanksgiving. So that's when he came and did it. We were getting freeze warnings, but it didn't freeze. It didn't get down that low, but it can. And, she said, but I reached out to her yesterday and I was like, dude, what the heck? When are they going to turn it back on? And she said, after the threat of freeze is over, we'll come back and turn it on. She said, that's what they do here. I was like, when you said winterize, I don't know what I thought you meant, but I didn't think it meant just turn it off. Yeah. Yeah. How does pancakes, Bob? You like them? Oh, they look good. That looks like a good breakfast. Yummy. I feel so hungry looking at that. He's a good eater. It's something that he likes. I guess. He looks like a good boy. Not fingers, fork. You get your fingers sticky. Use fork. Yeah, use your fork. Are they good? Your fork? Are you counting when you eat them? Yeah. Right here. You're counting when you eat? How many is it? Yep. No, what number is that? You already have one. What comes after one? Two. Yeah, I see. Okay, what comes after two? Yeah, after two. Well, how many? No, you ate one. You ate two. Now how many? Three. Yes, I have to leave. Have a good day. Bye, Krista. That's just what the color of my name says. It took me ages to connect. Hi, folks. Whoever's there. Hi, everyone. I'm sorry I haven't done my 15 meters with me. I'm on a hospital appointment, so I'm gonna ride. How far to go? That's just past the ribbon or just finishing ribbon? Okay, so it's from cuff to the toe, is it? You're making? Okay. That's how long you said the ribbon going? How long? How many rows? I think that said 10 rows. Okay, thank you. I'm pretty sure. Doesn't matter what size socks she was in. Are they all going to be about the same size? Yeah, so as far as I know, it just depends on the number of stitches you cast on is going to affect how wide the sock is. That's usually the biggest difference. You can then adjust how long you want to make the sock as you like it. Okay, so it's basically from the rib to the heel, it's about the same size, and then you size up from there. So it should all be the same size going through because you put the heel in. Okay, but as we get to that, Beth will explain how all of that works. I was going to say, in which case then, whatever size this one is, I'll know whether to add or take away stitches, yeah? Yeah. Wonderful. What time is it in the US at the moment? I'm trying to sort out UK time to US time. 10:58. So you're on the East Coast then? Eastern Standard, yes. Yeah, Eastern Standard, yeah. So where are you coming from, Boston or where are you? New York. Ah, right. Yeah, just across the pond, as we say. Yes. Okay, 10 rows. Okay. Sorry about that. Can you hear me? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Somebody say something. I'm talking. Can you hear me? No, can't hear. No. Hello. We can hear you. Audio. Are you talking? I'm talking now. Hi. Hiya. A question. Can we replay this again later? So Beth will be uploading it later. It won't be straight away. She just has to go through it and edit the audio. Can you hear me now? Yeah. So Beth will upload the video. I'm not entirely sure. I think she said particularly when, but it will be uploaded. That's great. There it goes. All right. Yeah, hello. That's with my daughter. You know how daughters are. You answer the phone and they start talking. Not my heart. Make the start. Okay. This is my 10th row. Well, okay, it wasn't right. Beth, can I ask you something?
Gonna do now. Now I'm following Kista's sock. She was on the call last night. And she told me what she does. And so I just followed what she does for her leg. She goes after the 2x10 rows of 2x2. She goes to knit 3. Hold on. 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 4 and 2. That's what it is. Knit 4, purl 2. Okay, so I'm going to start that. 1, 2, 3, 4. Purl 1, 2. I like the way this works out because I can do that twice on each needle. I'm not. Okay, here we go. All right, and how long are we going to continue? 4x2. 4x2 until her length of her leg is about 6.5 inches total, and the leg part is about, or the 4x2 rib is about 5.5 inches. So that'll be where we pick up next week. And if people aren't caught up, then you know, that's okay. I'll backtrack and I'll cast on another sock and show that again. It's no problem. We can just hang out here and work on our socks. Next week we'll, the next thing to do once we complete the leg of the sock would be to work the heel flap. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2. Okay, we can unmute.
Okay, tell the girls you finished eating.